Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's get started. And those of us that are on time, the rest of us can come in as we want. My name's Eddie Aguero. I'm with the California Volunteers, which is the state commission of California. Been with the commission from its inception, 1994. So this portion of my experience is about inclusion, and I gave you some fact sheet there. But I just wanted you to know that this workshop is about doing some things, taking some tools home with you so that you can practice and continue practicing inclusion. So if I can get a quick show of hands of how many people have, let's say, they were going to do a inclusion training for members or participants, depending on the program, would feel real comfortable doing it. Okay, would feel okay, you could probably wing it. Okay, would not want to go there. That's generally the consensus when it comes to this process. This is going to be rather informal, and I wanted more people at each table, but I think we can still do this. You guys, anybody at 2 or less, if you can grab another 3 or more, just helps with the networking and the activity, but you don't have to. This is not a forced So I'm going to, I will give you copies of the slides, and I think you can go online and get them also. And if you could speak up what it is, you have something to say, or a question or a comment, if you could do that, we won't have to pass around a microphone so that we can record it for those that want to listen. Okay? So, and if you don't want to, or if you speak really softly, I can bring you a mic at hand. So, just want to make sure your voice is heard. So, to start this up, everybody needs to stand up. Sorry, I know you just got comfortable. Oh, good, we have somebody joining us. So this exercise is really easy. If you could just, okay, let's do this standing up. The workshop overview for those of you that need to have this information. Introductions, we're going to do that right now. Then we're going to talk about invisible disabilities or hidden disabilities. Then we'll do some project planning. We're going to do some organizational assessments. And then I have some resources and tools for you to take back with you. So we're in no rush here. So if you feel like you're getting bored or anything, raise your hand. I've got something for you to do. Right now, I'd like everybody to take part in this service circle. I think you've done this before. We'll use, I guess, these 4 tables for our radius. And if we could start, let's see, right here with somebody that thinks they've been in national service a long time.
Continually? Continually, or you say cumulative?
Total, if you count the time, even if you have a stopwatch and started it again, whatever that total time is. So let's start right here with whoever, I'll start. I've been in national service since inception and before that. So we'll go clockwise. So I'm like 20 years plus. So whoever's next to me, 1 year, 5 year, let's go. Self-selection. Talk to each other. You might have to do that. Yeah. How about you?
Less than a year.
94.
We're the less than a year.
Oh, I've got a month and a half.
Come on over, ladies.
Yeah, less than a year.
Now, those of you that RSVP and senior corps, it's even before the corporation. So if you've been with senior corps for 4 years, you should be on my right side.
I guess we're going around these tables.
Oh, that must have
Okay. Let's circle 2 tables.
a month and a half.
Okay.
All right.
We're going to circle around these 2 tables, guys. Well, this way.
Right here, we're going to do the 2 table circle.
Oh, okay.
Okay, then I'm 4 months.
Oh, it's like
Fill in this space and not be so close to each other, get more comfortable.
Lights out.
Okay, so the least experienced?
month and a half.
Okay. So is that the way it goes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with the least and go to the most, just so we can see the years of improvement. But what I want you to do is just state your name and your organization and how long you've been in national service. And then the last one might be a little tough for you. Feel free to say whatever you want. But the days, minutes, years, months you practice inclusion, at least in your mind. Okay? So we'll start with you.
Sure. My name's Lori Laird. I work with Jesuit Volunteer Corps Northwest. I just came on staff about a month and a half ago, and so that's my first real plunge into national service. Let's see, years I've been practicing inclusion. Well,
Or minutes or days.
or minutes. I like to think I've been practicing it for about 25 years, but
Okay.
I think I've got a lot to learn. So maybe I'll say it's only been a few minutes at the end of this
We're not going to make a judgment on it. That's good for us.
I'm Marta Trinidad. I'm with RSVP of Marion County here in Oregon. I've only been with this position 2 months. But I have been probably inclusion for 25 years.
Okay, so my name's Rebecca Emberg, and I work for a community action agency called North Coast Opportunities, and I run the volunteer network. So, having worked there, I was aware of the opportunity of service. So I was really happy to be put in a position only 4 months ago, and so I was aware of inclusion, how it fit into the position. So I was going to say all 4 months I've been practicing it, but now I'm not even sure if I know what it is.
Hey, my name is Christine Pañuelos. I'm from Foster Grandparent Program. I've been doing this for 6 months technically, and I come from a technical background, so this is the first time I'm doing this kind of work. So if it is what I think I'm thinking, every in-service maybe I do the inclusion, so I have a pretty good 20 hours or so, depending on.
Okay. Thanks.
My name's Sabrina Tolson. I'm with Catholic Charities Senior Companion Program, and I've been with that program for almost a little over 6 months. But in Philadelphia, I worked as a behavioral specialist, which is a person who works with mentally retarded or autistic children to try and include them into the population of regular classrooms. And so I had to write treatment plans to try and help the teacher be able to include the child. So I was doing that for about 10 years. But adults, never.
I'm Kathy Canales. I'm the RSVP program in Southern Nevada, and been there about a year. And I'd like to think I've been practicing inclusion for years and years and years.
Doreen Nichols. I'm a foster grandparent program from Southern Nevada, and I've been there for about a year. And I come from nonprofit management background. I did live over in Vancouver, Washington, which is across the river over here, and was a member of the diversity task force over there for probably about 6 to 7 years. So we did a lot of it was a lot of educational type things and seminars and things like that with the community.
My name is Mary Hagel, and I work at Jesuit Volunteer Corps Northwest as well, and I've been there for about a year. And I've probably been doing some form of inclusion work the past 8 years, I'd say. Not extensive, but yeah.
Hi, Christine Manley with the Jumpstart Foster Grandparent Program in Los Angeles. I just finished a full first year as a grantee, but I've been doing this program for 2 years now. I would say that being a grantee introduced me to the fact that I needed to figure out inclusiveness, and then it's only been in the last few months where I started a new program year that I've kind of upped my game a little bit and getting more and more creative and embracing it more. So I have a lot to learn. I'm really excited to be here. I am MJ Pickett. I've been involved in national service about 4 years. First as a state member, then a VISTA, now a program director. I work for Urban Roots. It's in Reno, Nevada. We do garden and nutrition education. And my inclusion is probably pretty minimal. So I have a lot to learn, but I'm excited.
Eric Kimball. I'm in Washington State AmeriCorps program, Washington Service Corps. Been doing that for about 4 years. I served in the Marine Corps, so served time there too. And basically, I've always been part of some form of inclusion type focus, with also doing programs where I was part of the diversity team and so on and so forth through our HR career and stuff for about 18 years. So.
I'm Angie Pratt. I'm from San Francisco, California. And I've been working in these programs for about 4.5 years with a big break in the time. I think I've been very conscious of inclusion for about 48 years.
Nick Brancato with the Nevada Conservation Corps. I've been there for just shy of 6 years through a variety of positions, AmeriCorps member, through staff positions, and I guess to the extent that the inclusion language is in our handbook and CCRs, and we've practiced it to some degree, but certainly I can learn about it.
Frank Wagner. I'm with College Access now in Seattle. We are a college access and completion program for first generation college students. And I've been in national service for 5 years. 1 year in the AmeriCorps Vista organization and 4 years on our staff. And this is our second, I think it was Christine said, second year in the grant cycle. So relatively new AmeriCorps program. And my introduction to inclusion was definitely through our commission. And so, especially this summer, got more information through an awesome training with the National Service Inclusion Project. And that was really my introduction and got me going. So I'd say thinking about it and moving it forward in our organization since July.
Sandra Mattingly, and I'm with the RSVP program. I've been with RSVP for 8 years. But I think I've been practicing inclusion really since my children started school. I'm trying to help my family because I come from an area where there is no diversity. So I have worked diligently to help my children understand that just because you're not a little white boy going to a little white school, you're not the only thing that matters here.
I'm Debbie Draper. I work with RSVP in Davis County in Utah. Been there just over a year, but prior to that I worked other other national service projects for more than 11 years. And inclusion, probably a minimum of 8 years. Title VI, the ADA requirements for our federal funding through our Older Americans Act money also has made that a forefront in our agency.
I'm Brian Locke, the Senior Program Officer for the Washington State Commission. Been there for 19 years, helped write the first AmeriCorps grant for the state. Regarding disability inclusion, I was the first disability coordinator, still am, at the Washington State Commission. I've been doing that, I believe, since 96, I think, so about 17 years.
I'm Vicki Bowman with the Davis County RSVP program. We've been with this program for about a year, about 6-7 months now, but had prior experience with Senior Corps and foster grandparents and RSVP for 20 years before that, so a lot of experience with Senior Corps programs. Inclusion, I would say, because I grew up in a family, there was yours, mine, ours, and theirs. And we had foster children with us quite often, and some of those with disabilities that most of my life has been inclusion.
Eddie Aguero, California Volunteers. Been with National Service since '91 and with the National Commission. And then I've had about 25 years plus of inclusion practicing to various levels of success.
Shannon Burke, Livingston, Montana, and I have had this position for about 3 years, RSVP. However, I started as a volunteer coordinator in Kansas in 1971 in the probation department.
And inclusion?
Inclusion, when you start in the probation and teaching in the jail, it's like you want to be involved.
You just joined us. You need to sort yourself out in the circle. Years of national service involvement.
Years of national service
Years, minutes,
involvement?
days.
5 years.
Okay, so that would be
Over here. That's my freaking neck.
Okay, then the next thing is your organization.
I am from UCAN, United Community Action Network in Roseburg, Oregon. And I'm part of the I'm the AmeriCorps Vista Training Coordinator.
Has it been for 5 years?
I've been in this position for 2 years. I started as a Vista team leader for 2 years, and now for 2 years as a training coordinator.
You're excelling so far.
Yeah.
Well, the last one is number of days, months, minutes, years you've practiced inclusion. Just whatever you think that is.
Probably not in terms of the type of inclusion that I've learned in AmeriCorps. Probably just actually since I've been the training coordinator for 2 years.
Okay, great.
I haven't thought of it in this terms of what I've heard.
Well, thank you. I just wanted to give us all opportunity to get a sense of the knowledge, experience, et cetera, and a little bit of who we are. So if you could go back to your seats, we'll continue. Excellent. Now you should have on your table, if you don't have a copy, let me know, I've got extras. Fact sheet, and if you can join that another table. It's just things that I wanted us all to be centered on. So when we're talking about inclusion, we're talking about all people basically, and serving as opportunities for everyone, and from K through 12 to senior living, all of that. So when we're talking about inclusion, we are talking about a basic level of involvement for everybody. And what does that mean? Yes?
So in this conversation, inclusion has to do mostly with differently abledness. It's not about culture or religion. We're talking about specifically physical, mental, emotional, all of that sort of genre.
Right.
Am I clear?
We're mostly talking about being, just being present, and being able to be present and participate. Now, everything else, we can go to another section of diversity, et cetera, training. This is focusing on being able to be and participate. And so what are some of the things we can do and what we might look at? So you have the handout in front of you. I don't need to go through it to you, but I wanted to go through some of this stuff. For those of you that aren't aware, I think everybody's aware, there's a law of the land. So it is a law that we, that particularly people with disabilities have freedom, equality, et cetera, an opportunity to participate. Now, it doesn't mean at all costs. It just means they have an opportunity if they can, particularly when it comes to jobs and service positions. They have the right, if they can meet the qualifications, to participate. And sometimes it also means that you might be able to help in various ways through accommodations, accessibility changes, training, informing others about inclusion and what does that mean, why are we inclusive, and then just general assistance in getting things done. Every day we all help each other in some way or another, our colleagues, to get something done. So it's just an extension of that idea. It's just that somebody might need an extra step or an extra hand to get something done. Or they might need a device or an accommodation or something, but they still are trying to get things done just like you are. So I wanted to get that focus for us, that we're basically talking about respect, personal respect for everybody's freedom and ability to participate. Now, I know in reality that could be challenging, but that's what we're talking about, is how do we remove the obstacles, the barriers, how do we make it less challenging? So this presentation, this workshop is about practicing inclusion. It's not about Disability Awareness 101. There are tools and instruments, and I'll have resources for you to go to at the end of the workshop that you, if you want to get a little bit more informed, some of the tools I hand out to you at the end will help you do that. But if you want to get, in fact, California Volunteers still has Disability 101 online course. Last time I looked, it's interactive. You answer questions, you read stuff, it kind of gets you. There's also tools there in the disability page. And Brian, I imagine you guys have that.
Yeah, Washington does have it.
And most of the commissions, they do have tools and instruments. And National Service Inclusion Project, which are a number of the sources here of what both Brian and I have done over the years, they're the experts for us. They're the TTA providers, so to say. They still are technically. So they're also a great resource, and you'll have that information too. So I didn't want you to feel like you're treading water in the inclusion subject, because we're going to practice some of that now, and then you're going to take tools with you later to do that. So right now we're going to do a game, which I think some of you might have played before. And I think because it's small enough, I'll give you about 10 minutes if you need it to play this game. And there's so few of you. You can start right away, but this is an interactive game, so I'd like you to, again, stand up, walk around, and see if you can get somebody to initial the answer they give you on the sheet. It's called Mingo. It's like bingo. The more you can get, the more effective you are. The winners get a prize. There's going to be 2 of you. So,
competition.
We'll go with the first one to get a row completed, and the first one to get the whole thing completed.
At least we get to move around.
So, get up, start. If you have any questions, it's really pretty self-explanatory. If you don't have the answer, somebody else may have it. And then in a few minutes, we'll go over those answers so you will have them. So, go.
Do we put their initials?
Yeah. No, I'd have them put their initials.
If we answer it right, is that okay with you?
No, there's no right or wrong. It's what you think the answer is. You're not going to be graded.
Okay. I just didn't know if I have them initial, if I can go and answer it, or if I'm asking.
No, if you're answering. If you're a source for the answer, you will initial thought. I got a TQ for you. Brian is a disability coordinator.
All right, you.
No, if you know the answer, you can initial it too.
Oh, you can initial the answer if you know it?
Yes, but if you're sitting there by yourself, I would suggest you don't initial your own and get somebody else to initial for you. So you should go around and help people out. No.
You're in
Right.
let's try to find out.
The initial or name will tell us who answered the question.
Okay.
The initial or name will tell us who answered the question for you. Okay? The initial or name will tell us who answered the question. So the initial or name will tell us who answered the question. No, you go to somebody else. Yes.
Oh, yes.
What is one question you can ask?
We all can sign that on. Number 10.
Good question. Okay, so the main point is What is my birthday?
Everybody has a
Okay.
Yeah,
Ask me a question.
About my glasses. Yes. That's a disability.
Oh, okay. What are two ideas for making a social media successful there?
Large print. Oh, good idea.
Sandra, large print. Okay. Huh?
Now,
Enhance your document.
you said
Can you sign for me?
You writing the
No, I just want to remember. Can I help you with a question? Or would you like me to ask? An open captioning. Isn't that if you're hearing impaired? Is that closed captioning? What's the difference between closed captioning?
I'm
going to say that it's for those who hear.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know either. Hi Shannon, how are you?
Okay.
I'm fine. How are you?
What's open captioning?
What is open captioning on TV and movies?
Open captioning.
For those who are... Okay.
No hearing.
Hearing, yeah. Is there anyone who can answer for you?
Yes.
I think it's Eddie. Okay. Eddie, are you the white disability coordinator? Yeah. So yes.
What is some
We're going to play with Play-Doh.
Oh, yeah. You need a pen. Let me get one. I got
Are you two working on one right away?
No,
Go to places where organization, go to places where they hang out. Organizations have Here's a person with a disability.
Nick, who's our all right, well, we don't know.
Is it somebody
We don't know.
this one?
Say that.
Right, well, I guess it's a list of names.
Working on creating something.
We did the caption.
And age and life, they came back saying.
Good idea.
That you would find in sort of a mainstream.
Oh, and I don't think you can ask if they can go up steps.
Let's see.
That's them words at the bottom of the TV. No?
Yeah.
Hearing impaired.
What you need?
What's the only time
Wheelchair accessible rights for broken.
I like that. They're
What is open
yeah, that's what I don't know.
So they are animals that are trained to.
It's still something about the TV. What'd you get?
Officially awesome. Well, I mean, the operative word is open captioning. You've got anyone on TV or not.
No, that's new to me.
The example
Awesome.
is a TV.
That's good because I know you always see dogs. And
What number is that?
Other dogs that.
Well, we really have to change it.
Okay, you got
But now we realize
What is it? Wow. Because closed captioning is the word. Oh, well, I would say open captioning must be the hearing this thing. And nobody else knows. Well, I don't know what's the answer marker. You want me to sign
I mean, it would probably have to do with
Your other 2 minutes. All right, so what is
Would that mean that rotary or that thing?
Braille?
Yeah, yes. So I just signed that for you too. Where it says name and ideas that can help me.
Okay, so Mary.
Not read. So Mark, you sign that one.
Okay, 1 minute.
What are the accessible features of the parking lot? The ramps, the wider things, the
You can answer the service dog
elevators.
I don't know, but I will guess.
last row, and this, I think it's, yeah. So sign that. You have a pen? Okay. Braille. Is that the Braille stuff? Or Braille.
Icons or things like that?
What is the only time you can disclose someone's disability? If they hurt. Don't mean it's right.
I'm sure there's something. I know this one, I can't ask about personal.
Because everybody's trying to get on disability. Okay, let's find our seats. Oh, I don't know. The majority But how would they report? Reporting them.
Will you initial it for me? Because we just agreed on it.
Provide an example of a disability. Related reasonable accommodation. Okay. Can't see and eyeglasses.
Now, what I'll do is I'll go through these almost like you do with bingo. But number of you have rows completed. Does anybody have it all blacked out?
No.
Okay, so we'll go by the ones that have the most correct as the group agrees. So let's start with column 1, row 1. Who would like to address, name 2 ideas for making presentations and meeting accessible to all? Anybody? Yes.
Like you could use displays, like you're speaking but you have it up on the thing, and interpreters or signers.
Anybody have anything else?
Audio visual can just different approaches to the presentation. I mean, everything you're looking to capture the different types of individuals that learn differently also, I think.
Okay. That's pretty general, but
Well, making the location ADA accessible or broadcasting to people who cannot be there physically.
Leaving some chairs not at the table so it would be easy for someone to slide.
Yeah.
anybody have? We have some answers here. I'll give you a couple.
We put large print too.
There you go. That's the first one I was going to say. 14 font or larger would be nice. That's pretty easy. And how about if you're going to have a presentation or a meeting, you have it on the first floor?
Oh, yeah.
This is the 3rd floor. And I don't know, the first floor here isn't on the first floor. So, but those are a couple of other ideas. So if you got something like that, you can check that box. Now let's jump over to row 5, column 5, row 4. Describe what to do if a person who, with a disability looks like he or she needs help.
You ask them.
You ask them. Anybody else? That's pretty much the answer.
Oh.
You ask them. You don't give them the help.
Is there kind of an approach that's more sensitive, like saying, "Can I help you?" versus "Do you need help?" or is it just not really that?
What do you guys think?
I like can I help?
Versus do you need help?
Because if I look like I need help and you say, do I need help, I'm gonna be mad. So I'd rather you say, can I help you? That way if I don't need help, I can say, no, baby, I got it. But if I look like I need it.
Or would you like some help?
Yeah.
Would you like help?
Yes or no answers are good. No, thank you. Usually if you say, would you like help? As opposed to, it looks like you need help.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump over to column 5, row 1. Name your state's disability coordinator.
Eddie.
Okay, that's California. That's easy.
Well, what about Nevada?
I don't know. Does anybody know Nevada's?
Well, we said Daddy would know.
Okay, how about Washington's?
Brian.
Okay, does anybody have that written down?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. It only counts if you have an answer. Okay, you can't put it in
So you who will be Nevada?
Oregon's just.
I don't know Nevada.
It's either Amber or Jenna, probably.
Amber or Jenna?
So if you have a righteous answer, I'd circle or something, but if you add an answer for your own
No, not
education, that
that.
Jenna.
Oregon is just.
We're just trying to get
Yes.
information.
Oregon is just.
Oregon is?
Is
Pat.
it just?
Well, it used to be Pat, but she's gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she retired.
So it's either Jess or Joy.
I don't know.
Okay.
Where is that?
I don't think it's Joy.
Yeah, we think it's Jess.
Okay, column 1, row 4. Who wants to ask that question?
I'm assuming the question you cannot ask is, do you have a disability?
What do you guys think? Right? You can ask it, but it's rude and it's also not proper. And I don't know if it's illegal, but
I can all
certainly is insulting. Or you also can't say something like, which isn't a question, tell me about your disability. Those are a couple of things you don't want to say. Okay? So if you have that answer, good. So let's go to column 3, row 1.
Well, can you?
What should you say?
Can't you say, is there anything to your knowledge that you know of that may possibly limit you or prevent you from doing the
No,
activity?
but there are interview questions that are inclusive in general, like is there any part of
Can you
the,
perform
is
the
there
functions of
any,
this position with or without a reasonable accommodation?
yes.
Wait, say that again.
Can you perform the functions of this position with or without a reasonable accommodation?
And the only thing I add is
Everybody.
the essential
Essential
functions.
functions,
The
yes.
essential
Okay.
functions of this position. That's,
And I want to ask a question, and I know this sounds really elementary. So these kind of things I've always been aware apply to employment type interviews and everything, but they also apply to interviewing the volunteer. That's
Yes.
why we're all there.
What
they're
about-
basically about talking to individuals about an opportunity, a position, a job, service, whatever.
Okay, what about senior volunteers?
What about?
When they turn in their application, you know, and tell me what they're interested in, I have to know if they can't stand, can't sit. I mean,
Yes.
it's more probable
So that
in
question,
the senior population.
so that question still applies. Is there anything in the essential functions of the position?
I have 30 workstations. There are 30 positions.
Okay.
I mean, that's when I take my first application, I have to know ahead of time before I contact the workstation or contact the volunteer, you know, if they can't lift or if they can't stand, you know, which are common things as we all age.
So are there different?
We do have a question on there saying, you know, are there some limitations?
Right.
Well, you probably want to readdress that question, but generally what programs do, stations, sites, is they assess the sites to see if they're, what their accessibility
Okay,
things may
when
or may
I
not
get a
be.
volunteer, they come in, they give me an application and they give me a list of things that they might be interested in. I have 30 workstations. So I look at what their interests are. If I don't have any indication that they can't do something and I have a request from a workstation, then I could make a serious error and put somebody in a bad situation.
that can happen to anybody that doesn't disclose a limitation they have. And it's a common thing. All you could do is try to offer an opportunity for them to disclose, if they choose to, some limitation they may have. But another way to do it is on the other side, is clearly identify the essential functions and what the person needs to be able to do with or without an accommodation, and have them, and then they still may be silent. But you've done everything you could to minimize that happening. Then when it happens, it's really all you can do is react to it and move forward depending on what the situation is. There's no other way. But I'd have to err on the planning and preparation before I err on the reaction. So,
Okay, but part of my planning and preparation is asking, do you have limitations? I find senior population doesn't have a lot of problem with that. I mean, that's,
it's
bad back,
Best practices is we don't ask people if they have limitations. We ask them, is there any part of the essential functions that would require accommodation? Or can you do any, is there any part of the essential functions that you would be asked to do that you can do with or without an accommodation?
Yeah, I mean, there's some things you can probably do in your position description up front to help bring up that conversation, like this position requires heavy lifting or something.
I get an application from somebody, sometimes I have not met them, they're referred by somebody else. Especially my Meals on Wheels, which are like a third of my volunteers. We do have that in there so that they never get put in a position. So when I pull up the application, I know not to send them to something that is going to involve prolonged standing or lifting or, if I don't do that, because they get assigned to more than one thing. These are sometimes short term.
Do you not do a personal interview or an orientation with your volunteers?
Not always.
Then you probably should make that a priority to prevent this from happening.
I live in a small rural county where transportation is a problem and where some of my volunteers volunteer by phone.
Well, what state are you with?
Livingston, Montana.
Montana. So I don't know the disability people.
It's probably Jim Howard.
Because there are resources and people that can assist you in at least be in. What I like
And
to,
what's your program?
What I like.
What's your
I'm
program?
RSVP.
Okay.
What I like
that's fine.
What I like to advocate for is some type of practice or procedure or policy that is independent of you. It's something that you follow and you implement. So if there isn't something like that, I encourage at least that to happen, because then it's independent of the person that's involved. And that way, if you step out of there, somebody else comes in and it's already set up the process, the procedure, to avoid some of these challenges that we run into. So let's go to column 3, row 4. What are service animals? Is that what you have?
Yeah.
Okay. And what roles do they play? Anybody want to venture with that one?
They're trained animals, usually they're dogs, but they can play any variety of roles, from assisting people with visual impairments, hearing impairments, epilepsy, a lot of different kinds of.
Does anybody have any specific things that they can do? You can probably think of some.
Yeah,
but on your answer sheet. You're right. It's dogs, could be monkeys, could be birds. They open latches, they hit switches, they warm their owners.
Yeah.
They anticipate seizure activity. There's different types of animal trained assistants. So let's go to the column 1, row 3. What is the number of people who report some level of disability in the U.S.? Anybody have a guess on that? We can go percentages.
77%.
77%. Anybody else? This is U.S. General question. Okay, the answer I have here, nearly 18% nationwide, varies from state to state. You can look it up in your own state. What number of people who report some level of disability in the U.S. That means they've disclosed it.
Oh, okay.
It's not the ones that didn't disclose. It has to be reported.
And so that's not ones that's applying for like disability.
It could be
Okay.
that part of that number.
Okay.
Row 5. Column 5, row 3. What is one way to determine if you're selecting a qualified applicant? We had some talk about it before we did.
Just ask, are you qualified for this position? Do you
Pardon
need
me?
the qualifications? They've seen the job description. Ask, do you have the qualifications?
And how do you determine that? That's the question. One way to determine.
Interview questions.
Okay. And
Face-to-face interview.
Okay. Get closer.
It has to do with the ability to perform the essential tasks.
There you go. That's the answer I'm looking for. So determine if they're selecting a qualified applicant is the he or she performs the essential functions of the position with or without accommodation. Okay. How about row 1, column 1, row 2? What is an open captioning on TV and who uses it? For example, on TV, not just TV. Closed it says open captioning. The answer says closed captioning requires equipment. Open captioning is used in bars, gyms, and airports. So it's already captioned for you. That's the answer. Open captioning is open. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to have equipment. You don't have to have closed captioning technology. It's already there. So, do you guys remember? Some of you are not old enough. Saturday Night Live, Garrett Morris. And who was it? Chevy Chase. And they had open captioning
On the news.
Garrett Morris was a little box. Chevy Chase was saying, in today's news, and Garrett Morris goes, in today's news. So that was their open caption. It was quite funny. It lasted for about a minute. Column 3, row 2. Describe the main point of the American with Disabilities Act. Main point. Any main point. Were there any guesses
Accessibility.
on that? Pardon me?
Accessibility.
Accessibility, okay.
Respect.
Respect. It's part of the act.
It's equity.
The answer we're going for here has to do with this. What is a disability, a person with a disability? So there's a significant disability as part of the act, and there's a record of disability or a presumption of a disability. It's been demonstrated in some way, shape, or form, either through disclosure, through visual, or through medical. So the act, it says, person with disability has those characteristics. That's basically the answer on this one. There's a lot of stuff in there, but nobody had any other answers.
Well, but isn't the point of that then to say, and then folks then they have some certain extended rights or ways of being treated or respected that, you're kind of entitled to a little bit more if you fit within that definition?
No. The thing about disability inclusion and individuals with disability, chances are somebody here may have a hidden disability. We're not going to go there. But a person with a disability is a person first. So for people first language, they're a person. So any person that's in a room has the rights of every person in this country. So the Disability Act just came out and said, okay, even if you're a person with a disability, you're entitled to all this other stuff too. And that's the whole point of it.
Yeah,
It wasn't to separate or say, we need to do something for this group of people. Yes, we wanted to address inclusion and make the field a little more level, but that was all the intent of the law was. But it became problematic when people didn't want to do that, which you've heard cases of that. So which ones haven't we addressed? Give me a column and a row.
Column 2, row 1.
Okay. Column 2, row 1. List the best and alternative ways to refer to a wheelchair user. It's not a trick question. Kind of is. Yes.
Mobility challenged.
Mobility challenged. Okay.
Limited mobility.
Limited mobility. The thing we want to emphasize here is
The person.
the person.
The person.
Person with the wheelchair. So first person language is one of the key things if you want to be inclusive. You always want to use it. I still see it in my family. I see it in my friends. That person's, there's a disabled person over there. No, there's a person over there with a disability. Okay? So a person who uses a wheelchair, a person who is blind. Although people that are blind tend to be, pretty staunch in their blindness. So, but they're still a person first. So, person first, people first language. That's a key thing you should always be using. Feel free to correct yourself mid-sentence with somebody. They'll say, what was that about? Well, people first. It's not the disability. Yes.
It's like calling people a diabetic or schizophrenic. They're not a diabetic, they're a person with diabetes.
Yes.
They're a person with schizophrenia.
Yes.
They're not schizophrenic.
That's right. So you're honoring and respectful if you're people first in your the way you do it. How about another one we haven't done?
Column 5, row 2.
Column 5, row 2. Name a famous person with the disabilities.
FDR.
Pardon me?
Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
There's one for you. That was an obvious one. Anybody? Stephen Hawking. Okay. Let's get a little more subtle there. Who else?
Michael J. Fox.
Michael J. Fox. How about what's that talk show guy?
Bryant and Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Oh, she is too. No, she hasn't.
Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder. Okay. There's a gentleman, I forget his name. He has multiple sclerosis.
Montel Williams?
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so there are a number. So if you had,
Yeah.
Just saying.
That was my
Okay.
son too.
Alright.
Yeah.
So yes, does anybody have a row now that we've covered? Yeah, in fact, we covered already.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
we did. Okay. Both of you or one of you?
I haven't. Yeah, I think all three.
There you go. It's not much, but save it for later.
Oh.
Right.
Next one.
I know you had it too.
Next one?
Yeah.
So another one we haven't done. Because we're about done with this exercise. You got the idea though.
Row 3, column 3.
Row 3, column 3. Name one idea that can help people who cannot read text understand a story or directions. Just one idea.
We said Braille. No, the Braille.
Okay.
Braille.
Pardon me? Say it. Okay. One idea.
I thought more like a visual.
Who cannot read text or understand the story or directions. Now they can't understand the story, so I understand maybe it could be a verbal story, but maybe it's reading. This one seems to be more reading. Anything else?
Column 4, row 1.
Okay, well the answer for another couple answers are photographs and international symbols. You've seen one probably around here for the disabled access. That's an international symbol. So are the people standing? You have the guys standing and the women. I don't know, they always have dresses on the bathrooms. That's an international symbol. Those types of things help people who can't understand. Okay, what was that last one?
Column 4, row 1.
Column 4, row 1. What would be a creative way to outreach to people with disabilities? Outreach to people with disabilities. Come on, you guys can think of something.
Invite them to speak with you.
Pardon me?
Invite them to speak at a conference.
There you go. That's an easy one.
I heard someone say go to them physically.
Okay. This is for your idea answer. It's also a container. Okay, so we're done with Mingo. You can move on to that. Now we're going to go into a project process. But first, before we do that,
Oh, wait a minute. What is the only time someone can disclose their disability? Someone else.
does anybody have an answer for that?
Because that's important.
Medical emergency.
Yeah, that's what I put medical emergency.
Which one was that? What row or column?
Row 4.
Or column 4, row 3.
Row 4, row 5. Their permission and safety situation.
Yeah. And could you make these answers available online for us? So
Sure,
we could
sure.
study them in the future?
Sure, I can do that. So this one is just a handout on what are invisible disabilities, because part of your next exercise is incorporating that idea in your planning. I think there's enough of you at each table to do this. Could you pass this out? Thank you. Somebody sitting here?
No, that's mine.
Oh, okay, sorry. This is just informational for you. We're going to do a project planning exercise here in your small groups. You're going to plan some inclusive service projects. I've got the project ideas for you already. You just need to work together to do this. And before you get started, I will give you all a friend that you're going to have that's going to you're going to incorporate into your plan. But you're not going to let anybody at the table know what disability your friend has. You just need to make sure that they're incorporated. Is that clear?
No.
Okay. I'm going to give you a handout, and it's going to say your friend has this disability. You keep it to yourself, and then you're going to do that project I just handed out. There's one page. Somebody needs to be kind of like the reporter for your table. So there's a project. Really self-explanatory. Now, the disability that I'm giving you for your friend is something that just you know, and you're going to work with this team of people and make sure that your friend is included.
We won't say.
You don't say what your friend has, because this is not a disability your friend wants everybody to know about. But you want to make sure they're included in the project. So whoever wants to take the lead at the table, go ahead and do that. And then somebody's going to report out on your table. This isn't a long process, so don't take you forever to do this. If you want to use bullets for your project planning, that's fine. We're looking for the process of inclusion here more than anything else. So I don't need to know how many backpacks you need or whatever the situation is on your project. Just the general stuff, as you can see on the handout.
We're going to advocate on behalf of our
So don't share your friend's disability scale. So which one of you guys is gonna pass it around? Everybody get one? Did you guys get one yet?
No, this is your volunteer, and this is the disability, the invisible disability that I have. And so you're not supposed to tell anybody what the disability is, but included in this project. So you have to have their limitations.
If you have any questions, just let me know. I'll come over there. make sure your friends included in the planning process, at least accommodated for, or with some subtle way of getting them included without telling everybody what they have. Whichever works for you.
So, what we want to do is elementary students that are
You guys know what you're
and at the end of the month, led items for 3 classrooms. Okay, so, So how can we plan this project? We need to go to the community and ask for donations. So like a drive. So like maybe like drive a car. No, like donating. Drop off. You drive the clothes. So, you know, shifting fire station. So we have already, we already have 2 volunteers. One volunteer is intellectual so they could, they're not really going to but they can physical stuff that you have to play it by ear. Whatever language that she speaks, because she could translate. So what if you have to translate? So why don't we put that out? But I'm good with the gentleman that has. He's gonna distribution. Yeah.
Okay, you have about 3 minutes. About 3 minutes.
outreach, we're gonna outreach to the community. Say the grocery store, just clothing.
Do you have locals? Well, that's when she said drive, it's like I was portraying.
Make phone calls.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what was your,
But I thought, I'm being my person. You don't want to tell me I can drive.
And I would need to be in a place where
So in the outreach department, they could help volunteer and organize
That might be especially because sometimes people can.
yeah, no, I wouldn't want to talk on the phone.
Okay, you got another minute. Remember this, the goal is not to finish the planning. More about the process.
If we're making up tasks for them, she could check the list, make sure that everything is in the inventory. What is it?
Okay, time. You guys can discontinue your project planning for now. As much as you'd like to finish this, I know how we're doing. This was a brief exercise only meant to sensitize you to what it's like to try to include somebody with a hidden disability in your project planning. Just a taste of it. So right now, if you'd like to take a minute, you could share your friend's disability with the other people in the group.
Instructions or organizing yourself. I wanted just my friend to run out, be in the building, someone else.
And I know so many as an adult,
Do this.
like
That's
migraine.
just
Often she'll have, I mean, just a simple touch. For example, so being with girls with people like is pretty MS. Yeah.
Something does understand.
Chronic autoimmune disease, central nervous system causes destruction.
I think we did pretty good.
And I have a very different this as well. Some days he goes to work. That's why he rides his so mine are and I don't stay in right. So I mean, that's why I say participates in other so that you need that's why I say
Mine's intellectual or cognitive
So what is your
that's
we don't know more about that. Can also be
functioning and adaptive behavior, adaptive diversity, social skills, social so that was why I said to discuss
one of the things
overactivity,
Pretty basic tasks.
failure to listen to instructions,
No,
failure to organize themselves.
we were talking about being in the field and the clients.
So that's why you said outreach with a partner.
Right.
Yeah,
And it's
visioning
also
the
in this interpretation of words
So
and
that person could even
drive me
some of the
when
guidance and supervision. They could be the planner, they're thinkers,
going to drive there.
even if they're execution,
Yeah,
inside your
Yes, I'll try this.
The ideas.
Okay. Time on this discussion. So, I want to allow a little bit of time for the last activities, but I would like, if any particular group wants to share some of the challenges, successes, or angst, or whatever you want to call it, of this experience. This is one of your reporters can chime up. Anybody? Go ahead.
I think one of the things that we were trying to think about or focus on are what are the strengths and the things that our different folks would be good at, and are there ways that we might be able to pair them with someone else so that together they were able to do a lot more than they might have been able to if they were working on their own.
So some of your friends had some strengths that nobody knew about.
Mm-hmm.
How about the process of including your friend in planning? Was that, I saw different approaches. Anybody want to talk about how they approached it? Like, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
I kept on thinking that we were definitely making ours more broad. I can definitely tell, like, when I usually plan an event, I probably don't think as broad as I do here. Like, for example, we were just saying that, well, if we're going to do some type of campaign, then, you know, we need to create a variety of roles to get the word out through different mediums. And, you know, we were like public awareness and social media, mainstream media, having a community event. So it's almost like we felt like we had to make it bigger to include. And I know that just normally I wouldn't make it probably that big, depending on what it is. And
But you wanted to make sure.
so
everybody had
I felt even, and I don't know whether anybody else felt that, we didn't really assess that as far as, do we need to make it bigger to include more? I mean, it's almost like we're, so it was just, I think it was interesting analysis of more probably myself.
Anybody else have that?
Ours was kind of the opposite. It was more of a focused task. Our specific, that it was essentially organizing a relocation of families that had power out in the wintertime to a warmer.
So that was a
facility.
focus lead.
And so our approach was to each of us kind of figuring out which of the roles, the tasks that needed to be done would kind of best fit our volunteers.
All right, well, thank you for entertaining this, because all I wanted to do is sensitize you to, and like I said, there's probably somebody in this room, the odds are, that has a hidden disability. It's no big deal. It's their thing. And in planning projects and activities, that's one of the things that you need to keep in mind. There is a large portion of people with hidden or invisible disabilities that you'll never know they have them. And sometimes their performance directly reflects that, but they won't tell you that's what it is. Much like what you run into with some of your seniors. They may not verbalize some things that you can't do, but if you don't know what they are, you might not be able to place them in something. But we can go into that another time. This last exercise, any questions on this, hidden disabilities? And we'll give you resources at the end. You can go look if you want to go further. This last exercise, I'd like you to be with your, if you have a program or a site person in this room with you, make sure you're next to them because you can do this activity together. And if you're by yourself, then you can do it by yourself. It's a brief assessment. You're not going to be graded on it. It's just your source of knowledge. If you don't know the answer, just put don't know or NA. But it's a program checklist for accessibility and inclusion. And some of the things your organization may or may not have or be practicing. As soon as I give it to you, you can start. Like I said, if you're here with somebody else, do it as a team. If you're by yourself for your organization, do it by yourself. And in this case, it doesn't help your notes because
Okay, so you go in and have all these applications of people that you can have.
Right. I saw that a lot.
So I would have
Wow. Why so many?
Should be interesting to see what you're impression.
Took the position.
Some of you might be ever met still.
you don't need to take too long in this, just a brief questionnaire.
It doesn't make sense to me if I don't know. There are some people who put it right now.
The only thing I'm going to ask you to do after you're done doing this questionnaire is maybe highlight some things that you can do when you go back to see if you can make a difference on something you don't know or you think needs to happen.
Yeah, I don't do that.
There might be a question or two that says members. If it feels better to you, you can use the word participant or individual.
No, not.
How you guys doing? Remember, this is for your organization that you're currently affiliated with. Okay, another minute or so.
Do you have a disability session?
done by 10:30.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Sure. Okay, let's include your questionnaire. You can take it with you. What I'd like to do is ask for a couple of volunteers to share something they saw or some idea they might have or what they're going to do when they leave here.
I'll be asking a meeting with my director and asking more questions.
Because there may be answers already, you just don't know what they are.
That's exactly what it is.
I would just say this is exactly what I needed to bring to my organization, because it's hard to bring up when you don't have data. And so I'm not dealing with any resistance as far as like philosophically changing our organization, but like this is really helpful.
Yeah. And I have a handout that's more detailed than that.
That'd be great. I'm going to follow up with you.
We're sponsored by a local AAA, and we have a brand new director, and this last checklist, I don't think she's gotten to the point where she's thought about this stuff yet. We're in the middle also of a lawsuit with the ADA, and so this is a good reminder, but I'm also thinking, you know what, we have all kinds of staff that this hasn't been in service.
That's
so
right.
That's something that
And that's,
we'll go back to.
Brian will tell you, that's been our goal from day one, is just to get people aware and informed, because most people want to be inclusive whether they know it or not.
Yeah.
It's just that the ignorance and fear are two of our biggest obstacles in this whole field. And if you can just address the ignorance and remove the fears, it tends to happen pretty easily. It's not a rocket science thing. Most reasonable accommodations are minimal, if any, in dollars. Some, you hear about the big ones, but most of them aren't. And then the people with hidden or invisible disabilities you don't even hear of, but if you can be inclusive in your planning and design, that's usually addressed also.
And I think getting all the staff on board is the big thing too, because my HR person, who this is their job, I'm sure they know how to approach all these things, but me and all of my staff who are doing the work on the ground with the volunteers, we may see that little thing, oh, we accommodate, let us know, but we don't necessarily have the background knowledge to know how to incorporate that into our daily language so that volunteers see it all the time, and that sort of thing.
There's a gentleman, Ron Mason, I have the handouts overhead for you if you want them. Universal design products and environments to be usable by all people to the greatest extent possible without need for adaptation or specialized design. And you'll notice on the picture here, it's a lever door opener or a push bar. Things that people don't have to grasp, that's just a universal design that everybody benefits from. You have a hand load of packages, you don't have to turn the door on. So that's kind of what we're also talking about when it comes to designing your programs. If you universally design for inclusiveness, a lot of these issues aren't issues. They're just, in fact, if you hear testimonies from individuals with disabilities that have disclosed and everybody knows, they usually add to the experience, not take away from it. So I'm going to pass out some handouts, take with you, and we will be done. This is just a glossary of terms used by the disability and national service community. which is readily available online, but I like giving people something to grab.
These are some of the resources.
This is the glossary of terms. Okay, this next handout is a handout on universal design. It just gives you some more detail on what universal design is about. You're welcome to take the Play-Doh and pipe cleaners with you if you like to use your hands, whatever you're doing. This next handout, it's planning for inclusion, indicators of service and inclusion. It goes hand in hand with the accessibility checklist. This is also an online document you can get through NSIP, National Service Improvement Project. There you go. Just about done, you guys.
Have you heard of Steve Perry? Have you heard of him? You're going to be blown away. You're my 7-year-old. This is going to be your treat. Prepare to be next.
I almost went to the mark yesterday.
Oh my goodness. My program.
The last two, this is an accessibility checklist. That's even more detailed than the one I just gave you.
Is this the last one, Eddie?
Last project.
Okay. Eddie, is this the last one?
Yes, I'm done. Just handing out some things.
Yeah, the financial is
This is a resource list.
Oh, yeah. I think I would have rather kept it on this side, yeah.
It's a resource list about the website. This is the last
Last one.
Some of these will be in the PCLC website.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of these documents you've seen here are down there.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
That'd be great.
Thank you guys for coming.